Okay, we should have everybody added in so far.
Okay.
And so if we want to start off with, uh, this will be recorded for future use.
Okay.
That we have Amy, Megan, and Dawn here with the Rabbit Project, and so y'all can start it off.
All right. Well, good afternoon, Texas 4-H, and I understand we do also have some people outside of Texas on ours today. So welcome to our Rabbit Project success stories, as well as tips on how to get started with the Rabbit Project in 4-H. My name is Megan Logan. I'm the one who you see a wooden backdrop in the back. Those are my cabinets in my office. I am a extension program specialist for 4-H and youth development for Texas 4-H. I work in the District 10 office, so I'm located in Uvalde, and I have been charged with leading the Rabbit Project for the state. Along with me, I have Amy and Dawn Mersiovsky. They are two members of our Rabbit Advisory Board for the state, and they have been a huge help in getting our Rabbit Project really going in the state of Texas, as well as getting the Texas Rabbit Extravaganza going again. So they will be helping me throughout this presentation. So just know that you can jump in and ask questions anytime you have them, and we're here to help you all as much as we can. So we'll go ahead and get started with the introduction to the Rabbit Project when it comes to Texas. Of course, we have some leadership opportunities that we're currently working through right now, and that's the Texas 4-H Rabbit Advisory Board. Those applications went out and were due in May, and so we're going through the process of reviewing those applications, and that way we can let people know if they've been accepted into the advisory board for the next 2 years. We do a 2-year term. We do have youth who are on the committee as well. And the requirements for that is they have to be 13 years old or older to be part of our advisory board. They do assist us with the Texas 4-H Rabbit Extravaganza, as well as they are helping with writing any new curriculum that we roll out for the Rabbit Project, and helping us with any other statewide events we do. Normally, if we would have been at Texas 4-H Roundup this week, we would have had an information booth available to all of our 4-H members talking about the Rabbit Extravaganza, as well as handing out different documents for the Rabbit Project. Of course, this year, unfortunately, we weren't able to be there in person, and so we are doing this presentation. All of the Rabbit Advisory Board information can be found at the Texas 4-H website. Like I said, applications have closed already for this year, and we're in that process of selecting the new Rabbit Advisory Board members, and that information will go out by the end of the month for those who are selected for that process. So some of the resources that we currently have available is we do have the Texas 4-H Rabbit website, which is shows you information that we've got on hand right now. That includes the Rabbit Explore Guide that's currently up, and we'll be working on creating some other Explore Guides that'll dive deeper into the project. We just haven't been able to do that yet, and hopefully have one about showmanship as well. So those are projects that are coming along for the Rabbit Project. So be looking for that information to come out for Texas 4-H. It'll all be housed on the Rabbit part of the website for Texas 4-H. And then another resource that we want to point out that we recommend y'all have on hand in your county offices or with your Rabbit clubs is the actual ARBA standards of perfection for your rabbit breeds. I know the Mersiovskys will probably dive into that a little bit deeper here in a little while, but that is something that we recommend having on hand so that you're able to see that information about the breeds that you're looking at for your shows. Currently, when we're talking about Texas Rabbit Extravaganza, that is our statewide event. Traditionally, we would host educational workshops, a breeding show, a pet show, special events, which would be your showmanship, your breed identification, those types of contests, and then arts and crafts contests. It is tentatively scheduled for Saturday, September 12th, 2020 of this year. Of course, keep in mind that due to COVID-19 restrictions, as well as the rabbit hemorrhagic disease that's currently going around, we're having to look at multiple factors as we plan that event for this year. And so those are things to keep in mind. It may look a little different this year, like most things have when it comes to 4-H, but we're still looking at what we can do to be able to provide something for our rabbit project participants. So just have that on your calendar tentatively right now. And as we get more information, that'll be released statewide to be able to participate. You would register for that event on 4-H Connect. And so that's something to be looking for as well. That information will be sent out statewide as well as shared on our social media platforms and sent out in your weekly Texas 4-H update emails. When it comes to the disease that is currently going around in regards to rabbits, we have been sending out Texas Animal Health Commission reports as they come in so that we can share those with our project leaders, club managers, county agents, so everyone is up to date on what's going on. We are also, I have been working with the Texas A&M Veterinarian School, and they've developed some validation recommendations and guidelines to send out to our counties. Of course, they're recommended practices, but there's something that you can share with your local county shows just to make sure that we're covering our bases when it comes to the rabbit project and doing everything that we can to make sure that those animals coming in are being handled properly and safely in regards to that. So that'll be coming out soon. Hopefully by next week, that'll be sent out to the county offices so that y'all can have that on hand. So in order to get started with rabbits, this is when I'm going to turn it over to our two very faithful and passionate rabbit project volunteers, Mr. Don Mersiovsky and Amy Mersiovsky. I'm going to hand it over to you. I'll control the slides for y'all, so if you'll just tell me when you want to switch slides, I'll be more than happy to, but take it away.
All right, everyone, welcome, and we're glad you're interested in rabbits. We both grew up as youth showing rabbits. I grew up in Arkansas 4-H. John grew up here in Texas, and we have raised and shown rabbits most of our lives. So the rabbit hemorrhagic virus is giving us a whole lot of anxiety. It's really heartbreaking to know that breeders may lose years and years and years of work and genetics and their animals. So we're going to talk about several different things today, including some biosecurity things that you know about right now that you can put into practice in your rabbitry to protect your animals. So first of all, we're going to talk about county needs. Every county has a different kind of show, it seems. There are some counties that have a market show only, where they do a meat pen show where they have a pen of 3 fryer rabbits. Typically they're Californians, New Zealand's, a few allow Satins or Palominos, but most it's Californians and New Zealand's, and they have the pen of 3 rabbits that have to weigh between 3.5 and 5 pounds. Some of those counties allow breeding rabbits of those same breeds. Then you have some counties that have a combination of a meat pen show plus all the different breeds of rabbits that can be shown in ARBA. There are a few shows around who also allow a single fryer. A single fryer class is made up of animals that would be the same size, same age as the meat pens, but there's only one animal there to be judged. So you can have some counties that just have a breeding rabbit show, some have a meat market show, and then you can have some that have a combination. Megan alluded to showmanship. Most counties do have a showmanship competition, and showmanship is a lot about knowing how to handle your animal and also the care of your animal and knowledge about your animal. And also husbandry. And the ARBA, the American Rabbit Breeders Association, has a really nice guide sheet on actually competing in those showmanship contests. I really recommend that everyone review those. I think there's even some videos there on the ARBA website. Okay. Another question we get a lot is about who should judge your county show. There are rabbit breeders who have been rabbit breeders for many years, and Many of them are very knowledgeable, but some counties want to use an ARBA licensed judge. If you want to get a listing of the ARBA licensed judges, you can also click on the ARBA judges listing, and it will tell you the state that those judges are in and give you an email address. I can tell you that many judges get booked pretty quickly, so I always suggest that you try to book your judge pretty quickly. We do have a good amount of our judges who are in the retirement age, so they're usually a little freer than some of our younger judges are. Also, I put in the link for the ARBA registrars. The ARBA registrars can also judge your county fair. They have a license, just like our ARBA licensed judges, but what they're primarily trained to do is to check for disqualifications in the registration process of our rabbits. But for your county fair, that their skill set may be just fine for what you're looking for. And we do have several ARBA registrars that do judge county fairs here in Texas. Okay. And that brings up another question that I got recently. I'm also helping my home county in Arkansas with some needs for their fair. They were asking, do rabbits have to be registered to show? Our registration process in rabbits is somewhat different than other species. First of all, the animal has to be examined by that ARBA judge. They also either have to be an intermediate or a senior. You have to have a filled out pedigree. But you do not have to have rabbits with registration papers to actually show at an ARBA show or at your county fair. We go to our national convention and many of our animals are not registered. Okay. Megan, if you would like to advance for me. All right, I wanted to include some equipment and things that you might need for your county to set up a county show. First of all, location. You'll need an area that is safe from predators. You'll also need an area where the animals can be out of the sunlight. I always say, even though it's 100 degrees here in Texas, rabbits wear a coat of fur every day of the year. So they need to be cool and have a place that they can be out of direct sunlight and they have good airflow. For equipment, I have actually shown a tattoo set. I know many counties validate their animals for the meat pen shows and some of the breeding rabbits as well. So in Bell County, we have our tattoo set, we have our Bell tattoo, and then every household is given a number. And so we check those numbers when people are coming in to check in their market rabbits. So we actually use a clamp tattoo set. Then of course the scale, particularly if you've got your meat pen rabbits, 3.5 to 5.5 pounds, every rabbit has to meet that weight limit. So every county needs a scale. I have just a general scale here. You can get a basket or something like that to set in there with some carpet. So you just set that animal in there for safety. Many counties also use like digital postal scales. That's what we personally use at home as well. We have digital postal scale. And then you will see here, I have a picture of rabbit judging tables. It's super helpful to have those. The kids put the rabbit in on one side, the judge takes them out on the other. That way the kids can put the rabbits in, they're in there safely, and then the kids can step back. It's super important in our world that we try to be as anonymous as possible as we're judging and exhibiting. So that's a big rule in ARBA, that we shouldn't draw attention to our animals. The tables that are shown in this picture, they actually have wire in the bottoms. That way, if the rabbits urinate, have feces, it just falls through. That way, nobody's sitting there getting wet, getting dirty, and it decreases your infection control problems. I know Megan is working with the vet school about COVID-19. I'm sorry, about RHDV2. Y'all can tell I'm a nurse. I went straight to COVID. Sorry. We're looking at a lot of different things, disease control wise, with the RVHD2, to make sure we don't spread it, because from what we understand and what we've been reading, it's a lot about contact. And so we're going to have to do even more disinfection and cleaning than we ever have. Don has worked a little bit more on disease control and infection control for this than I have in his role as an ARBA officer a few years ago. So I'll let Don turn it over. I'll turn it over to Don about infection control and disease control.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Yeah, disease control is very big, especially within the rabbit project itself. One of the things that you're going to want to do is practice good biosecurity, practice infection control. Whenever you have rabbits that, and rabbits, you know, hopefully they don't die on the kids, but sometimes they do. You want to make sure that you keep a cleaning solution around to disinfect that cage prior to any animal going into it afterwards, or even at the first time they go in. Make sure you have a 10% bleach solution as standard to clean that cage, keeping in mind it is somewhat corrosive, so you're going to want to make sure that you go behind it with a little bit of water, you know, make sure it rinses off. All right, the bleach solution will kill whatever viruses are there, and make sure that the animal doesn't come in contact. One of the other things too is what we're starting to do this year, what we're going to start doing this year is whenever in between tattooing groups of rabbits for validation, we're going to be disinfecting our clamps between groups to kind of speed things up and make sure that we don't transmit between groups of rabbits, as well as give them a clean place to sit while we're doing the tattooing. That's a couple of things as far as making sure you keep that clean. With the rabbits at the house, one of the things the kids are going to need to do is fly control. Fly control is big with any animal husbandry, is keeping those flies down, especially if you're out in the country or you're near some other animals, whether it be poultry or cattle, hogs, swine, or with sheep and goats. You're going to have fly issues. Make sure that you practice good fly control. Lots of different products out there that can be recommended. Just check with your local supplier, your feed stores, your tractor supplies to get the best fly control that meets your needs. They vary in price, so make sure it's whatever's within your budget, but keeping the flies down makes the rabbits happier, and it makes the project move along a little bit better. Also allows the kids to be out there with the project more often. Make sure that also that whenever the kids have their projects at home, that they keep to prevent them from catching the RHD. Make sure the rabbits either stay in the cages or stay on an elevated platform. You don't want the rabbits playing down on the grass, especially if you got cottontails or any other wild animals that walk across that space, to make sure that they don't contact the disease. This is a very virulent disease, and it's really important to keep them animals up off the ground. All right. Let's see here. Megan, if you'll go to the next slide, please. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about what the kids and what you need to know as an agent as far as how to get the project started. One of the big things, the first step is always, is know your zoning laws. You need to find out, first of all, are rabbits allowed in the area? If so, how many? How big a project is that individual going to be able to have? Are they going to be able to have to keep the rabbit inside, i.e. as a pet rabbit, in order to enjoy the project? We've got several folks in our county that actually, they raise the rabbit through the year, and they keep the rabbit in the house as a pet, and then they do show it. These are purebred animals, but it helps them to be able to participate in the program. So make sure you know your zoning laws. picking a breed. That's one of the most, I get that question a lot from a lot of folks. What breed do I pick? It's really fun for these kids. Make sure you go to the ARBA website. There are pictures of every breed recognized by the ARBA. We want the kids to be participating in the purebred program. Crossbreds, unless, for a lot of county fairs, don't show well because they're hard to judge. They got characteristics of two different breeds, and it's hard to judge them on that. All judges judge by a standard, and that standard allows points for various aspects of the rabbit. For example, right there where you see the Dutch has a lot of points on markings. And if you have a Dutch cross with another breed of rabbit, then it's kind of hard to evaluate that rabbit correctly. That way, it's a lot like judging other breeding species. You want to make sure you get it represents its breed. So, okay. So make sure that you let the kids go down. I highly recommend they go to an ARBA sanctioned show. Granted, we haven't had any lately. Hopefully in the fall, we'll be able to start having some shows again, and the kids can go and look around, see what the rabbits look like live. There's lots of breeds out there, and these rabbits, a lot of rabbit breeders will be glad to show you what they've got, and make sure they love to answer questions. And if not, you can check with the superintendent to find out, okay, who do I need to talk to at a show to make sure that you get the best information, because we want to make sure these kids have all the information they need when they pick out their breed. All right, because we have, if you can't find a breeder for the breed you want to raise, that's fine. Contact Megan or go to our website, our email address, and we'll be glad to try to put you in contact with a breeder. All right. Okay. Now, how and where to shop? I always like putting it in those terms because it's a shopper's market. Whenever you go out and you're going shopping, make sure that you have all the information you need. Review the standard, understand the breed you're looking for or looking at. That way, when you get there, you already have an idea in your mind, this is the breed and this is what the rabbit should look like. Some of the things that we try to make sure that we avoid. Where to avoid? Don't go to pet stores. Pet stores do not sell purebred animals. They will sell breeders who sell in the pet stores, that's what we call culls. In a lot of cases, these are rabbits that aren't making somebody's breeding program. You want to make sure that these kids get quality animals. You want to make sure that the animals that they get meet the standards for that breed. A lot of folks, I see it a lot on Facebook, and you try to tamp it down as much as you can, but there are key words that you need to be aware of when you're out, where you're out or where the kids are out shopping for rabbits. One of the key words is, it'll make a good 4-H rabbit. That is like, these are seconds, thirds, whatever you want to call them. We're going to pawn them off on some unsuspecting 4-H kid because it'll be okay for a county fair show. That's not what you want. You want an ARBA quality animal that can compete not only at 4-H shows, but at ARBA shows. When these kids go to shop, that's what they need to tell these folks. I'm looking for an ARBA quality animal. I want to be able to compete at ARBA shows. That way, when they compete if they want to go beyond county fair, they want to show up Fort Worth, at Houston. Those are ARBA standard shows. And those standard shows, they have to have an ARBA quality animal that is free from disqualifications and can compete. That's one of the things you want to catch. Whenever you're out shopping for breeding animals, and they say, well, it'll make a good brood doe or a good brood buck. Anything that makes a good brood doe or brood buck, stay away from. Those are animals, once again, that they're trying to pass off as substandard animals. You make sure you keep the highest quality for those kids and get those kids the best possible animal for their money. All right. So make sure you keep whenever you're looking, make sure you keep an eye on that. Okay. And if they have any questions on how to look for an animal, we can put them in touch with reputable people that will get them some good animals. All right. One of the things I always try to tell people, if you can, shop at various places. Unless you know what you're looking for, make sure you go to a couple of different places. It's like shopping for anything. You shop for a car, you don't stop at the first dealership. You go to multiple dealerships to get your best deal, to get your best quality animal. This is what you want to do when you go out rabbit shopping. Unless you're for sure where you need to, you know where you need to go, that's the best way to approach it. So, okay. Now I've got I'm sorry, but I've got somebody waiting in a room for, okay, planning for it. I can't see that next bullet point. Okay, thank you. Okay, one of the things we always want to do, and this is getting to be really important these days, is plan for the animals, what's going to happen after the show. This has to do with a lot of county fairs. They have a meat rabbit show. What is it you're going to do? If you need buyers, there are buyers throughout the state that can buy rabbits. You want to make sure you plan it well in advance, so that they can make the appropriate arrangements. If the kids are, whatever the kids are doing, the one thing we don't want to have happen is the kids just turning rabbits loose. Okay, that's the worst thing that they can do. These animals are not designed to be running in the wild. Okay, they're going to get picked off by the first hog, coyote, or whatever, or dog, just a neighborhood dog that catches them. So make sure the kids understand that this project, it is a livestock project, and so therefore we have to have there is a reason for those rabbits, and we have to be good stewards of that and say, okay, let's find us a buyer for the rabbits and work with these folks to see if they can't come in and pick up the rabbits, and they give a good price for them, a good market price. It's not usually what the kids pay for them, but at least that rabbit is not going to be, you're not going to find it out on the highway somewhere. All right. So make sure you plan for that. Also, if you are, goes back to the zoning issue, make sure that if the kids are breeding rabbits, what are they going to do with them? Before they start this breeding program, they have to have an idea, what am I going to do with all these rabbits? Because if they're planning on selling them, that's fine, but they got to make sure that they understand, if I got to have so much cage space for all these rabbits. So make sure that they understand they got to have a plan. What is their project plan? If they want to get in breeding rabbits, great. We're all behind them 100%. And if they want to do just a pet rabbit, that's fine too. But make sure that these kids understand, if they're going to be breeding bucks and does together, they're going to have more rabbits, and they need to have a plan for what they're going to do with those rabbits. All right. So, okay, next slide.
Don, can I interrupt you real quick with a couple of questions that came in?
Yeah, please.
Okay, one of the first questions is, how do you sell your rabbits? And then where can I find buyers, and is a marketplace a good place to buy?
Okay.
Marketplace.
Okay, first off, there's depending on what kind of rabbit, there are a couple of buyers. There are some down in the Houston area. There's some up in the Dallas area. They do purchase fryers. There's a gentleman down in the Fredericksburg area that purchases. He goes to the county fairs and buys a lot of rabbits. There are fryer buyers all over the place. Bigger rabbits are a little bit harder to take care of, but if you look at the ARBA not website, but if you join ARBA, there is a commercial committee on there. I'm a member of that. But if you are looking for buyers, let me know as far as the commercial side. If you the laws are constantly changing for pet rabbits. You may want to check what area with your local pet store, how they get their rabbits, if that is your intent, is to sell pet rabbits. But there are markets all over the place. So if they want, they could shoot that email, that group of the 4-H group a message, and we'll try to help find buyers for them. We can't always guarantee buyers because, like everything, prices vary and demand varies. So we'll do our best to get them buyers.
We also got a question that asked, do the buyers of, I'm guessing the fryer rabbits, do they buy them live or do they want them
Live? No, they buy them live. They need to buy them live because they need to know the health of the animal, just like they would any other species. So yes, they do buy them live. They come in with cages, crates, various ways of handling them.
And then another question just came through. When you're selling fryers, what are they typically running? Like, what are they typically bringing price-wise?
It varies anywhere from $1 to $1.50, depending on what the supply, the current price is running. I've seen them as low as 50 cents a pound, all the way up to $1.80. But prices vary depending upon the supply and demand, just like all the other animals. Any other questions?
That's all of them right now.
Yeah, if you have any questions on that or on biosecurity methods, please you always can shoot us an email, or you can add it to the chat and we'll answer as best we can.
There was a question in there about buying animals like off of Facebook Marketplace or off of MeWe. I've seen too many people get burned like that. I think it's always more valuable for you to know and be able to see the animal, be able to examine the animal and make sure the animal's healthy and free of disqualifications before you buy it. A lot of times, I don't want to say anyone's dishonest, but with just purchasing from a picture, you don't know that's the animal you would actually be receiving. You have to be super careful with that. Yeah,
the other thing too is when you go to look at the animal to purchase, make sure you personally know how to check the animal over. This is a skill that is easily taught to all the kids. Kids can do it. I've taught little kids to be able to handle big animals. I've been able to teach them how to check for various diseases. You want to make sure that when you do purchase the animal, that it has all of its toes to the correct color, that it meets all the standards that for that particular breed. You want to make sure that there's no disqualifications in that particular animal when you purchase it, because a lot of these animals are purchased as is. In other words, once it leaves the property, that's the deal. So make sure that before you go out and you look for the breed, look through that standard, understand the general disqualifications at the front of the book and the breed specific disqualifications that are associated with that particular breed.
One thing I'll mention about the ARBA standard book, our current standard is ending at the end of the year. So I would really recommend probably waiting a few months and getting that new standard that's going to start in January of 21. We do know that there are going to be quite a few changes there, and if you're going to make that investment, get your 5 years worth.
Yeah, I'm seeing several chats where actually folks do sell the meat. And yes, you can do that. I tell you what, rabbit meat is the healthiest meat out there. It's the highest in protein, lowest in cholesterol. Really, it's really good for folks that have high cholesterol or heart problems. I don't know why we don't. I guess it's the price of it, but you could actually sell processed rabbit for a pretty good price, and you could sell it to individuals. When you start selling in the grocery stores and whatnot, you get a little bit. If you got to change up, be a USDA certified. But as long as you're selling to individuals, you should have no problem there. Okay, I'm just going to go. I think we got all of them answered. So I will turn it over to Amy to talk a little bit about feed, housing. We've already covered a little bit about biosecurity, but we'll cover it a little bit more.
Okay, I just answered one question about weights on rabbits. And there are small rabbits, there are large rabbits. Like a Netherland dwarf, the maximum weight is under 3 pounds. But Flemish Giant can weigh 30 to 40 pounds. So how to find out about those weights is the ARBA standards book. And there are weights for junior animals. A junior is an animal under 6 months old. Then there's intermediates, like the Californias, New Zealands, and Satins do intermediates, and they're 6 to 8 month olds. And then there's the seniors in the 4-class animals that do junior and senior only. That's your 6 month olds and up. And then your intermediates are your older animals. So there are different animals there, weights there, and depending on what breed you have. Okay. So we're going to talk about some things that a 4-H'er would need to get into the project. First of all, you need to find a quality feed for your animals. Everyone has a different opinion on feeding. I always say, find out what your breeder is feeding when you buy your animals, and they should send you home with at least a few days worth of feed to get your animal transitioned. We never allow an animal to leave this place that does not have at least a couple of Ziploc bags of feed with them so they can get that transitioning. You want fresh feed. Find out the way that the feed company labels the dates on your feed. Some of them use Julian dates, some of them use regular dating, but find that out. If feed is more than 3 or 4 months old, it's really not worth feeding it. If it's real flaky, there's a lot of flake to it, your animals are not going to be getting a lot of nutrition from it. Be careful with supplementation. I know a lot of people like to feed a lot of treats. We don't. We just don't. If your feed is an appropriate feed, if you have an appropriate feed, you should not need a lot of supplements. I know some people feed oats. Be for sure careful with whole oats, particularly on the smaller animals, because those can injure your animal. I also get really concerned when I hear rabbits are being fed things like calf manna. Calf manna is really high in fat and protein. Think about the keto diet. It's kind of the same process. It'll burn up a lot of fat and a lot of muscle on your animals. Also, one thing that I can always say, particularly since it's hot and humid in Texas right now, you don't want to feed you don't want to fill those feeders completely up. If you've got that great big feeder for that one animal, you want to be able to feed them what they will clean up within a few hours. You don't want a lot of feed laying around because it gets bugs in it, it gets humid, and pelleted feed will swell, and that can make your animal sick. You always want your rabbit to have plenty of free access to clean water. They should be able to drink all the water that they want. Some people use stone crocks. Some people use water bottles, and that's fine. We have an automatic water system. It's wonderful, and if you can do that, it saves a lot of time and trouble. But you also need to make sure, no matter what, that they have that clean water source. That is so, so important. Housing and equipment-wise, you've got to figure out what works for you. We mentioned some people house their animals in their home, and there are multiple different kinds of small cage setups that you can get at your feed store, your pet store. For that, you will see at the bottom here, we have the 1 cage. There are actually cages that are built like that, but they're stackers, and they have pans in between them to catch stool and urine, and some people use those. They have them on wheels, whatever. But you'll also see, and these can be used inside. Rabbits can be housebroken. They can actually learn how to use a litter box. Rabbits are really habited animals. They will do things out of habit. So they're actually very, very easy to house train. For need to leave them inside. Sometimes people need to have their animals outside. They need to be out of the sun. They need to be protected from the elements. They need to be, we need to make sure they don't get wet during crazy rainstorms. So some people will use hutches like here on the left, on my left, you'll see that those cages are up. They are off the ground. That way it's harder for any kind of predator to get to them. But also, as Don was mentioning about the biosecurity, we've got to keep our animals off the ground, y'all. That's the #1 way that we're finding out that people are getting infected with this really deadly virus. And we don't want that to happen to your animals. You want to make sure that they have, that those cages have good latches on them. Rabbits, if they get scared, they will start jumping and hopping. And even a pretty secure cage, sometimes they will manage to knock their feet out, and if they can get out that way, or maybe even they hit the door really hard and they can get out and they can really hurt themselves. So be sure that those cages are secured. The second picture is just an example of like a portable building that's used for a rabbitry, and you can see that there are cages set up in there. I did not put pictures of our barn. Our barn, everything is in coop wise are in metal. They're hanging in metal. What would you call it, Don?
Frames.
Sorry, metal frames. And that way we can move if we need to. We can take the cages out, take them outside, power wash them, put them back in, and then we can also clean underneath them easily. So some people just use like a small portable building or like one of the little portable garages. That works fine. We're fortunate that we have a larger barn. One thing you have to make sure of is you have to make sure that you can keep your animals cool, but you also need to have good ventilation. Rabbits, when they urinate, you get a lot of ammonia buildup, you get a lot of smell that can get them to start having a lot of respiratory issues. So you definitely need to have good ventilation in your barn. Definitely need to have good ventilation and make sure that you keep everything good and clean. Also, rabbits molt, and so it's always good to make sure you've got all the hair and everything cleaned off your cages. But it's really important that you have good airflow, keep your rabbits cool. People ask me a lot, do we turn the heat on our animals? No, we don't. Just like I mentioned previously, they wear fur year-round, even the summer. They wear even more fur in the wintertime. In fact, our rabbits really like it cool because they wear all that fur. If we have babies, we make sure that the does have plenty of shavings or hay in their nest boxes. Like when y'all are having your meat pen animals, your fryer rabbits, we just make sure that they have a lot of bedding available to put in those nest boxes, and those does will pull a lot of fur. It's been years and years since we've actually had any weather cold enough that we actually brought nest boxes in overnight when it was super cold. Those only feed once a day. So we've actually picked up the nest boxes, labeled them, brought them in the house, and took them back out the next morning, as long as the wind wasn't blowing and everything to where the babies could get cold. You just got to protect those babies. I mean, we've had babies in the 20s. Those have babies in the 20s, and they've been fine. Okay. I talked about the one hole, a small cage here. Things that you want to look for on your caging is on the wire on the bottom is actually probably the most important. Chicken wire is not strong enough. We all know chicken wire bends. So typically we all use the 1.5 by 2 inch wire and then the 1/2 by 1 on the bottom. And you want a pretty heavy gauge on that bottom. You don't want it shaking. If you start getting a lot of shaking when the rabbits move around, you'll start to get feet problems. Some people use the foot pads that can be put in and taken out, and that's okay. You just have to make sure that those really stay clean. We could go on and on and on about health and safety, but these are just a few things that you really need to know right now. And the last picture that I have is of a travel cage. If you're going to your county fair, it's really important that you try to find a travel cage that's set up more like this. Puppy and kitten carriers, they're okay. But again, if your rabbit's sitting there all day, they're going to urinate, they're going to go to the bathroom, your rabbit's going to get wet, they're going to get stained. So we use these carriers that have either the metal or the plastic trays that have the good foot wire. a lot of times we use one of the puppy pads, and we'll take it apart, put the puppy pad in the tray, put the carrier back on, put the rabbit in. We get done, take the puppy pad out, we're good to go. Just try to make make things easy on yourself, and then also keep your animal as safe as possible. Biosecurity wise, we've also mentioned about keeping your rabbits off the ground, making sure you have good fly control, also bird control. Make sure there's no mice around. Y'all know we're all into ag. We all know that things like mice, etc., they love seeds. They love feed that falls on the floor. We all have grass. They love to hang out. It's getting hot and dry, so they're going to be looking for things to eat. Those are the animals that are also at risk for bringing in the RH or the RHVD2, and we just don't want to take that chance. Also, biosecurity wise, we are not allowing anyone in our barns, no one in our barns but us. And if our shoes go off, we are not wearing shoes that leave our place right now. We're just being super, super careful, making sure that no one is coming in, because this stuff is contact, and it can latch onto your shoes, latch onto your clothing, and then your rabbits are infected. Y'all, we've got to be super careful. The other thing is it is getting hot. We've got to have good airflow on our rabbits. We've got to make sure they have good water. They need to be out of the direct sunlight. They've also got to have some cooler air moving on them. Rabbits will have heat strokes, and so we've got to be sure and protect our animals from that as well. Also, talking about the birds, they can also bring in things like ear canker, which is also very infective, and it can be spread really easily in your animals and be a disqualification from a show. And you don't want to get that going in your rabbitry. And that's ear mites. It can cause a lot of problems for your animals. All right, Dawn, can you think of anything else?
Yeah, one of the things that I don't know if we mentioned or not, but whenever the kids are setting up their rabbitries, make sure that you take into account animals that are in the family that may disturb the rabbits. Rabbits like to be pretty much left alone. They like to be played with, yes, but they don't like to be looked at by dogs or cats running across the tops of their coops. So make sure you plan that biosecurity as well. Also make sure that your neighbors' stray dogs don't come in and destroy the projects. There's been many a time where we've had a child call us up because somebody had a stray dog that got into their yard and tore into their rabbit cages, because these cages they're secure, but they're not designed to stop a predator from getting at the rabbits. And it could really be heartbreaking if they come and do that. One of the things too is that if you got rabbits in the outside, or you could freeze your water bottles. Some folks take the 2-liter Coke bottles, fill them full of water, stick them in the freezer, and then put them out there with the rabbits during these hot summer days. Make sure you put fans in front of them. I've even seen folks take burlap and soak it down and hang it in front of the cages and blow air through it. And that'll actually help keep the rabbits cool as well. So lots of different ideas to try to keep your rabbits cool. Everything's going to vary depending on your situation. So make sure that you take those kind of things into account, especially because we want these kids to have the project year round. If you got early county fairs in August, those bunnies are going to be born probably about now. So it's going to be starting to get warmed up. So make sure that these kids take that into account, because cool rabbits that stay cool and comfortable and quiet will grow the fastest. If a rabbit is constantly being bugged by the family dog, or you got cats hanging around all the time, or the neighbors are barking at it through the fence, those rabbits aren't going to eat well. So make sure that you take those kind of biosecurity precautions. All right. Okay, let's talk a little bit about show readiness. One of the things you're going to want to do is have a tattoo. A couple of things. Tattoo is kind of like a brand on a rabbit. It tells whose rabbit's who. Because if you get a whole bunch of purebred New Zealand whites on the table, they're all white. They all have pink eyes for the most part. So this way, folks can tell them apart. Make sure that if you are purchasing a breeding rabbit, that it has a legible tattoo. All right. If it has a legible tattoo, that's basically the rabbit's name. That's what it goes by at the shows. When they're going through and the judges are judging them, they're going to call out the rabbit by that tattoo number. We do that at the 4-H extravaganza. We enter by tattoo numbers, and then we call the rabbits out, placing them by that tattoo number. So make sure it's as legible as you can get. A couple of the other things, make sure that rabbit is in good health. Whenever we want the kids to have access to their animals daily. They should be feeding and watering. If the rabbit, they should be checking that rabbit over, getting it out, looking at those toes, looking at in those ears, making sure that it doesn't have any abscesses, that it doesn't have a hernia, making sure that the health of the rabbit is always proper, and that way when they get to the show, there are no surprises. All right. Another thing too is that a lot of things that the kids can have, and I recommend you have this at the house for the kids, either an apron. Apron probably works best during the summer months, because a lot of these kids, whenever they want to hold that rabbit, but a lot of these rabbits aren't used to being handled, and until they are, it's probably best to protect the child from getting scratched up. Otherwise, you end up with a lot. I got scars all up and down my arms from various rabbits where I wasn't protecting my arms. One of the things that the kids can wear, it's kind of tough now, but a good Western shirt that they have a thicker cotton to them, and the rabbit, and protect them from scratches on the rabbit. Aprons work well. Those judging jackets, lab coats work well too. Protecting that way that if the kids are protected, they're not going to get scratched. They're going to enjoy the project better, and they're going to have more fun at it. All right. One of the things you're also going to want to make sure you have available for those kids is a grooming table. The grooming table there on the left, one of the things that the grooming table does, it allows the child to be able to work with that rabbit, be able to groom it. That way the rabbit will calm down. When the rabbit is used to the child grooming it, the rabbit it understands it. It's just like any other animal. They get to know each other. The rabbit gets to know the kids, how the kids react around it, and the rabbit's more comfortable. It grows better. If the only time the kids handle the animal is at the county fair for showmanship, chances are it's not going to work well. It's not going to turn out well for the kid. The rabbit, because the rabbit's going to be scared. It doesn't understand what the kid wants it to do, and it's going to do things that it probably shouldn't. It's stressful. Shows are stressful enough on rabbits without it being the first time that child has had the rabbit out and messed with it. So make sure that they get these out. I see some comments in the chat. Yes, don't bathe the rabbit. There are other ways of cleaning rabbits. If you have a white rabbit that is stained, the first thing you want to do is find out why is it getting stained. Is it because the rabbit is rolling in it itself? Bucks tend to do this quite often. Or is it because its neighbor is spraying it? Bucks do tend to spray, and they can really ruin a rabbit that's sitting next door to them. So make sure that you watch for that. The best way to get rid of that is with just plain old-fashioned water and cornstarch. Just spritz a little water on the rabbit to dampen the coat, not soak it, but dampen it, and then work some cornstarch into the coat, and it becomes an abrasive that the rabbit will clean off itself whenever you put it back. The nice thing about rabbits is that whenever you get done grooming it, you put it back, the rabbit will spend hours grooming itself, because apparently humans cannot put the fur in the right position for them. So they'll clean themselves off every time after you put them back up. So let's see here. Other equipment, as far we talked a little bit about the carriers. We talked about the cooping. We talked about any health features. If you the 4-H guide has a lot of the diseases that you would commonly run into, and make sure that you check that. There's a lot of home remedies for these diseases. One of the examples is if you come across ear canker, a couple of drops of mineral oil in the ears will work fine to kill these mites that are in the ears. So I keep thinking I'm getting likes on the side, but it's something else beeping. I think it's all the people waiting in the waiting room. So, but make sure that you that these kids understand what they're looking for when they examine their animals. If they're checking them every day, then you'll be fine. Come show day, they'll be good to go and be able to put that rabbit on the table and know that they've done a good job getting that rabbit to that point. So,
Macy,
all right.
You need to move us to the other room.
Yes, that's what I was just about to say.
Oh, we're out of time. Wow.
Move y'all to another room if y'all want. I'm going to post it in